empire rise. Systems break. History leaves scars that never fully disappear.
For a long time, people could still imagine that a war in the Middle East would remain mostly regional. It might shake oil markets for a while, trigger diplomatic alarm, and dominate headlines for a few days. But many outside the region still assumed the real damage would stay close to the battlefield. That assumption no longer fits the modern world. Today, Middle East wars do not stay in the Middle East because the region sits on top of systems the rest of the world still depends on. Energy routes, shipping lanes, air corridors, insurance markets, data infrastructure, and industrial supply chains all run through or around the region. Once conflict begins to disrupt those systems, the war stops being a local security crisis and starts becoming a global economic event. Reuters reported this week that the U.S.-Israel war with Iran has already sent shockwaves through global business by disrupting major trade and energy routes, pushing up oil and gas prices, and forcing businesses across sectors to react. That is why this war feels different. The map still shows a regional conflict, but the consequences now travel much farther than the missiles do. When the Strait of Hormuz becomes dangerous, oil and liquefied natural gas shipments are disrupted. When Gulf airspace becomes unsafe, airlines reroute or cancel flights. When maritime insurers reprice war risk, transport becomes more expensive. When all of that happens at once, businesses in Europe, Asia, and North America begin paying part of the price. This is the hidden logic of modern conflict. War no longer spreads only through armies and alliances. It spreads through infrastructure and dependence. Runners reported that tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz came to a near standstill, with at least 200 ships anchored outside the route and unable to reach ports. While the strait itself carries around a fifth of the world's oil and LNG supply. That is why the old idea of a regional war is becoming less useful. In a tightly connected world, some regions matter more than others, not only because of their geography, but because so much of global commerce, energy, and logistics has been built around them. When those regions are hit, the shock does not politely stay where it started.
When oil stops moving, the shock does not stay in the desert. It travels through the whole world.
The first reason Middle East wars no longer stay in the Middle East is energy. Modern economies still run on fuel, even when they talk constantly about transition, decarbonization, and resilience. Oil powers transportation, freight, aviation, petrochemicals, refining, and much of the industrial system. Natural gas supports electricity, manufacturing, heating, and a wide range of business activity. When a war threatens one of the world's most important energy arteries, the consequences move quickly into prices, margins, inflation, and growth. That is exactly what is happening now. Reuters reported that disruptions through Hormuz pushed analysts to warn that Brent crude could rise to $120 per barrel if tensions persist for a few more weeks. While Goldman Sachs said oil could move above $100 if flows do not recover. Reuters also reported that the current conflict has already produced some of the strongest weekly oil gains since the pandemic era. And oil is only one part of the story. Liquefied natural gas is also exposed. The Strait of Hormuz is a major route for LNG shipments, and the current conflict has already shown how fragile that system is. Once supply becomes uncertain, importers in Asia